Welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how you can create an overview of means and standard deviations by a certain factor or group using Excel. In my example I'll be using location as the variable that contains my three different locations. They were coded as 1, 2 and 3. So I've numbered those here, and they are Diemen, Haarlem and Rotterdam, three cities in the Netherlands. My scale variable is the grades, and let's dive in. The first thing is to actually get the number of valid responses per location. So we need to actually count how many times we actually have something in the grade for specific locations. So what we can do is we can use count ifs in this case. And then my criteria range is going to be column A, the entire column. And then the criteria is the value that's up here. Then I have a second criteria, which is that column B should actually therefore not be 0, or in other words it should be greater than 0, because these were grades and they should have been all bigger than 0. And then I can use simply this for that. So now it will actually count how many students actually gave a grade in Diemen, and I can copy paste this down. You can use Ctrl C, Ctrl V, or use the autofill handle like I'm doing here. So there were 19 students in Haarlem and 13 in Rotterdam. For the mean, there's a nice function that came in a few years ago, which is actually average if, and we do not need ifs because there are no missing values in the locations, and actually our condition is going to be that location. So the range is going to be the column A, the one that has my factors. Then the criteria is again the numerical value it corresponds to, and then the average is going to be done over column B. Now if it's missing, that doesn't matter because the average will ignore those missing values. So I can simply use this one, Control Enter, and then actually copy paste this down. The most difficult one of these will be the standard deviation. I need to actually do this for each different location. So what I'm going to do, the easiest way would be to actually sort all this and then just limit the range, but there is a nicer way of doing this. I've listed the whole thing here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use an if function, and the criteria to use is that both should not be empty. So if this one should not be empty, so unequal to nothing, and also this one should not be equal to nothing. If that is true, in those cases, what it should do is actually it should take the value, the grade, and then subtract the mean that corresponds to the location. I'm going to be using VLOOKUP for this, and I'm going to be looking up this value. I'm going to be looking that up into this table I just created. I'm going to block that from changing by pressing F4, so putting all around all those dollar signs. Then I want to return the mean, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4th column, and I only want exact matches. Then I close the VLOOKUP, I close the parentheses, and I want these to be squared, so like this. Now in all other cases I don't want it to do anything, so twice the quotation signs. Close the if, Ctrl Enter, and copy paste all of this all the way down. As you can see, it nicely copy pastes it all the way down. Then the standard deviation for the sample will be a sum if, and actually the square root out of something. So first the square root of the sum if, and it needs to look again in column A for this location, and then the sum range is that created C column. Then all of that should actually be divided by the number of cases, which is this one, minus 1, and then close everything up there. Control Enter or Enter, and then copy paste down, and you have yourself a nice little overview table with some summary statistics for each level. Of course, you can also add the total ones in there. So for example, the how many cases you have in total, alt equal, so 48 valid cases. The overall average, which is simply the average of column B. which is not the same, of course, as the sum of these. And the standard deviation is simply then standard dev and then probably S, because you want the sample one of column C in its entirely. So that's one quick way of actually doing this. So this standard deviation doesn't seem to be right. Of column B, that should be. Oops, it's always good to double check. 23 seems about more right. Actually, in this case, if there is a value here and nothing here, then the standard deviation will actually be there. So you might want to overcome looking at that. And the same goes for the mean if there's no location. But in this case, location was mentioned everywhere. So if you want the overall mean of something that doesn't have a location, you still will need to use the average if function. Okay, I hope this video was useful.